Yo, yo, yo. Can everyone hear me? Can everyone see the Bitcoin chart? Volume's okay, quality okay. All right, perfect. So, how's everyone doing? Lots of chop up and down, right? But clean moves, to be honest. El Romano, welcome, man. Lower? Yeah, maybe. Maybe lower, maybe higher. We'll see. Do you consider daily time frame bullish now? Depends, right? On what do you mean with bullish or bearish? If you think that from these prices we're gonna go to all-time highs, or from these prices we're gonna go to new lows. I couldn't give you the answer. I think it's more likely that we see up and down a little bit more before making a bigger move. But we'll get to that and everything. My thoughts on Bitcoin, my game plans. The 12-hour candle just closed, so the monthly closes tomorrow. Well, tonight. The quarterly candle as well. So we've got a lot to talk about. So let's see. Just gonna wait a couple minutes so we get some people in here. Many thanks for teaching us, sir. You are really awesome. Thanks, man. I should be scheduling these live streams in advance, to be honest, so we don't have to wait for people to join, so I can already share the link in advance. I used to do it like for a couple months, but then it started bugging and I had some problems with it, and ever since I just click go live. And maybe I should look for other streaming platforms as well, although I like to have everything in one place, like I have everything on YouTube, both my videos and my live streams. So, but yeah, I need to look into it. I'm not the best with that kind of stuff. What about ETH? We'll cover everything in a second, man. Have some patience and your questions will be answered, hopefully. Unless your question is, what's the next coin to do 100x, then your questions will not be answered. You mean market structure? Yeah, pure market structure. I'd say we're still in. Yeah, it's kind of ugly, you know. If you consider this as the high, this is the higher low, higher high, but then lower high, lower low. Sorry, lower high. So there's technically no market structure break here unless we break above here, which also lines up with all of these levels I have here. But as I said, I'll give my thoughts in a second. Hugo, welcome. How's the trading going, lads? Catching some nice moves. I've been in shorts on Bitcoin ever since this gray area up here was in nice profits. Now round tripped some, but nothing changed for me. And then I'm in ETH longs as well, and those are the only positions that I'm in right now. Let's talk about those as well, what I'm looking for. And also I got quite a bit of questions about when I was posting about my long, saying that I was short on Bitcoin, when I posted about my short on Bitcoin, saying that I was long on ETH. So I'll explain why as well. Trading been terrible for me, honestly. Blown account twice. Ah, that sucks, man. Lower your risk, I would say. Take it easy. Have most in spots and trade on the side with a small amount. Went 120 to 850 since July 10th. Nice, man. Congrats. I'm long on Sol. You think it will go down to 180? Let's talk about Sol in a second. Do you pay attention to CME gaps? I sometimes look at them, but mostly not, you know. Yes, a lot of them get filled, but that's normal, you know. Price goes up and down, so then they say, oh, the CME gap got filled. Yeah, if you wait long enough, it will get filled, you know. Prices go down, that's the whole point. But yeah, I think there's no point in really targeting a CME gap or anything. Short Bitcoin, nice. Short SL is in break even. I initially put it at break even, but I moved it back up again. Because my invalidation is still the same, to be honest. And that's a break above this region. Anyways, we've waited long enough. Let's get started. Before we get into the charts, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like. If you enjoyed the live stream, I mean, leave a like, subscribe. If you haven't already, keep your requests, your tickers in the chat for yourself until I say so. I will first do my own thing, as always, cover Bitcoin, Ethereum, some majors, some altcoins I like, and then we'll do some requests at the end. Like always, pretty much. All right. So if you have any questions, though, during the stream, feel free to post them in the chat, and I'll try to answer as many of them as possible. Also, quick shout out to Blowfin and Breakout, my partners for the stream. If you want to trade your own money, go head over to the description and make your account on Blowfin. You can get some nice deposit bonuses as well there. If you want to go for a funded account, if you lack the capital to trade with your own money, for some people the better option is to go for a funded account. How that works is you basically pay for an evaluation. You do the evaluation, and if you pass, you get funded. You can choose any account size from 5K all the way up to $100,000. You pay the evaluation fee, like I said. If you pass the evaluation, you get funded. As I said, if you don't have a lot of capital yourself, but you are nailing some of these market moves, and you're like, damn, I have, for example, I'm just saying something, a 1K portfolio. you put one percentage risk behind every trade, and you're like, I mean, I'm growing the account, but it's not really worth it, you see. Then sometimes it's the better choice is to pay for an evaluation fee, go for a funded account, and get payouts straight away. No hidden rules or anything with breakout. Straight up get funded if you pass the evaluation and get payouts at any time. All right. With that being said, let's take a look at some charts. So starting off with Bitcoin, we've got a lot of levels here, which I will remove for now, as these are some lower time frame levels. But small recap about what we were watching in the previous streams, right? Monthly was the most important one, and was also the reason why we were shorting into this monthly high, looking for lower prices. The main reason why we did that was because of these unswept monthly lows down here, right? The market moves from one liquidity, one liquidity point to an area. The highs had been swept very clean, while the lows were unswept, right? So whether you take this high as the range high liquidity being swept, or you take this high, which you could take as well, point being is that liquidity to the upside has been swept multiple times, while you have a monthly candle, this candle, right, the candle of September, which basically saw a very small wick to the downside, failing to sweep previous month's low, and then just started pumping right into weekly and daily key resistance. All of those factors lining up with each other and having a clean validation to the upside, right? Meaning that if price were to break above a certain point, we would, more than likely go for new all-time highs. All of those reasons for me were enough to at least be cautious, not rush into anything, and actually start looking for shorts. So that's what I did on this pump, right? Why I started shorting there? Well, like I said, we started pumping right from the monthly open, after making a very small wick to the downside, but not sweeping the previous month's low, sorry. Where we were pumping in here, we also swept some lower time frame highs right there, took liquidity above there into, hold on, let me play the next song. Okay, what was I saying? Into supply, into OTE, and that was a very clean invalidation for me, and also a big reason why I was looking for shorts. If you look at OTE, that's also a very nice tool that I use a lot, and a key area where you can look for rotations and continuation moves to the downside or to the upside. So if you have a high, and you go down to a low, right? If you're looking for shorts, if there's clean highs resting below the OTE area, that's gonna be the area where price is gonna either reverse and head lower, or that's gonna be the area, if it gets broken, right? And if you break above, that will likely send prices a lot higher, okay? So that's why I started shorting there. I said that I would add if we would pump higher and more into OTE, right? Because my invalidation wasn't somewhere here. No, my invalidation was a clean break above this level. I think I still have the setup. Yep. So this was the setup, as you could see, a little bit early, but wide invalidation, right? Simply looking to trade it back down towards those monthly lows. All right. And in how do you say it? Everything that I just said and the thought process that I just said, nothing changed according to that on the lower time frames. We saw some downside, we now saw some upside, but the overall picture on the higher time frames and the thought process, the reasons that I just explained on why I'm still thinking that we need to sweep lower still count very much. So the question is, yeah, obviously, what am I watching now? And what invalidates this, right? So let's say we pump back up here. The first step, right? We have some lower time frame resistance right here that I had marked out at the start of the stream. Right there. Let's hide that. Gets a little messy sometimes. All right, that I had marked out there. That's the lower time frame resistance, but in my opinion, still the higher time frame resistance that we need to break in order for us to see a real push into new all-time highs and continuation to the upside is still this area. And I got the question at the start of the stream on why, not on why, but if I, whether I had moved my stop to break even, and the answer was no. I kept it above there. And why is that? Well, because of the reasons that I just explained. I could see prices do something like this, sweep this liquidity into that key resistance once more, and still reverse to the downside and see that higher time frame monthly liquidity below these lows. All right, so that's the reason that I still have my invalidation there. Of course, if we start breaking above this area here and we see strength and some closes up here, the chances of us holding this, right, as a higher low and pushing to all-time highs increase a lot on the lower time frames. But higher time frame wise, I could still see it do this, reverse, dump back below these highs, and then see continuation to the downside. All right, so yep. So what am I watching next? As I said, I'm still in shorts with a validation above there. What changes this? Like I said, if we pump above here, ideally we don't, and we see downside below there, below these lows and those monthly lows next, ideally. But let's say we pump above there, I will still more than likely hold on to my shorts in case we reverse back down from there and still trade lower from there. Obviously, if you start closing up here, see bullish price action, then either I will get stopped out of my short, so be it, spot will trade a lot higher, or I'll manually close my positions before I get stopped, right? If we don't break above here and we start dumping from here, in my opinion, that would be the best scenario for Bitcoin to set up for a bullish Q4. And I'll explain why. So as I said, it's all about moving from one liquidity point to another. And the more liquidity you leave to either side, the higher, the bigger the reversal is going to be. And what I mean with that is, as I said, monthly liquidity is going to be resting there, maybe also below there. Let's see those, those are monthly levels. As you can see, monthly lows, right? Where's liquidity to the upside gonna be resting? You could ask. Well, in my opinion, I had marked out these lower time frame highs up here even before we made this move to the upside. So initially I was looking for slightly higher and then a reversal back down, but we front ran those. So I still think there's going to be a lot of liquidity resting above there, and of course a lot of liquidity going to be resting above there. So your main levels of liquidity, both to the upside and to the downside, are right here to the upside and right here to the downside. And why I said that it's even better to move lower first and set up for a bullish next couple of weeks to months is because if we took some lower time frame liquidity here, if we now see the move to the downside and leave all of this liquidity to the upside, that would mean an even bigger draw to the upside on Bitcoin. So at that point, I would feel way more comfortable looking for swing longs in this area, targeting at least this, and then I can easily close some above here and hold the rest in case we break out for new all-time highs. If we don't see the downside from here and instead we do this and then reverse, as I just said, as I just explained, right? At that point, if we move lower from here, we have already taken liquidity above here. So at that point, I wouldn't be able to target this area and the draw would be less to the upside. So at that point, it would have a higher chance and a higher probability of just continuing to range, building up more liquidity to the upside and to the downside, seeing more downside, a more aggressive sweep to the downside before potentially ultimately moving to new all-time highs. All right, so ideal scenario for me, that's the ideal scenario, right? It's not necessarily what I think is going to happen, but for me, ideal scenario to set up for a bullish next couple of months would be downside from here, sweep these lows, reclaim them, and then move a lot higher from there. And this scenario is not only what I think would be the ideal scenario, but it also lines up beautifully with the upcoming monthly close. Let's say the monthly closes here, right? What you want to see then, ideally, is a monthly close, barely a wick to the upside, and from there, downside. Straight downside from the monthly, right? Build up that liquidity above the monthly high, right? Sweep liquidity lower, and at that point you have your drawn liquidity above that flat, maybe a small wick on the monthly candle. You have that drawn liquidity here, and the liquidity, the monthly liquidity to the downside would have been taken. If that's the case and everything lines up, I'm gonna be looking for longs, big swing longs, and that could be a massive position and one of the biggest ones over the coming weeks, in my opinion. All right, would also line up with the 3-month candle, which would then, if it closes around here, be a very bullish well, not very bullish because we have a long wick to the upside, right? I previously talked about if we would have closed below here, that it would have been bad because that would have been a 3-month sweep, and then the next draw on high time frame would become all the way down here. But as how it's looking right now, right, we still have 11 hours, but if it closes up here, that's a bullish close, in my opinion. We closed the highest 3-month candle, the highest quarterly candle we ever did. So at that point, also here, if we see downside straight from the open, that would create a draw towards the upside of the candle, above the 3-month open, above the monthly open, right? And then we would be looking for a sweep of all of this liquidity lower, and then look to fill the upside of the candle into new all-time highs. All right, does that make sense? So is Bitcoin bullish here? Is Bitcoin bearish here? I don't know. I still like to believe that we are in for a bullish Q4. I thought the monthly candle and the 3-month candle were going to close uglier because we were heading down here, and this candle formation, I didn't quite like it, but we bounced here, so we are about to close decent. So if we see downside from there early in the month, I will be looking for swing longs, targeting first liquidity up here and then liquidity higher up. Any questions about this? Do you DCA in and out of positions? Sometimes, yes, of course. I mean, sometimes on spot I do it all the time, yeah. Everything clear? So low time frame. Like I said, high time frame, only thing, well, high time frame, the daily, the weekly, all you need is these levels. That's where the liquidity is resting, below here and above here. So that brings us to the lower time frames. 5, I mark out some levels here, let's keep that. I posted this chart or a similar chart on X. Yesterday it was, I think, right? All I did with this chart was marking out lower time frame liquidity. Lower time frame highs are clearly being swept, right? Swept here, swept. That's why I marked it out with this. Lower time frame lows here are unswept, unswept. This one now unswept as well, obviously. So a lot of liquidity resting there. Do we need to sweep them? No, of course not. But with all of this lining up, highs getting swept, market structure being clearly to the downside, that gives you a clean risk reward and a high probability of still trading towards them. So let us sweep these lows, then reclaim, and then send it higher. Okay, but what I meant with this lower time frame chart, right? And why I marked out this high as well on the even lower time frames, that was a clean high, right? Resting right below supply, being the sideways price action that led to this downside, and OTE from the high to the low. We use it in the exact same way than the higher time frames, where I used it here from the high to the low. Then your OTE is there. If you use it on the lower time frames, from the high to the low, your OTE lines up beautifully with the supply. Clean high right below there, as you can see. No surprise that we're rejecting there. I posted it before we got rejected. I posted it when we were still trading around here. So for now, what's gonna be key resistance? Up here. If we break above here, like I said, it would be a very good start, because it would definitely show signs of strength. But higher time frame, we still have this resistance we need to break. So then we'll have to see lower time frame. If we keep grinding up here, close some dailies in here, and it looks like we want to break out, let it go. But if we go up here, we sweep this and reject ugly back within here, then in my opinion, it was just another liquidity grab of the highs. And at that point, if we break back down, have an even bigger jaw to the downside. So then I'd feel even more comfortable in shorts targeting down here. All right. So just using all of this and planning ahead gives you a more relaxed feeling when you're in a position. I don't care right now what prices do. I do know that I could see bounces. Right, I could see us bounce all the way into 120k, but that would still be key resistance for me. If we dump lower from here, okay, then I will scale out of shorts below here and look for longs targeting the highs. Okay, that brings us to why are you long Ethereum, right? Well, as I said, I could see Bitcoin pump all the way into 120k, and if Ethereum does that, if Bitcoin does that, the Ethereum trade would already be played out half. How do you say it? Played out by half. You know, where would Ethereum be trading? Probably already above this this lower time frame, not lower time frame, above this daily range mean, right? So say Bitcoin. Let's hide all of these, right? So we had been, for Ethereum, what had we been watching? I said it like 15 streams before. Ever since we were trading in this range, right? It was sweep the highs, sweep the lows, continuation. Sweep the highs, sweep the lows, continuation. We had swept the highs. Everyone down here and mostly up here was looking for a breakout. I said until we break above this range high level, I'm bearish and I'm looking for a sweep of range lows. We had clean liquidity there and clean liquidity there. As you can see, by the way, doesn't this look pretty similar to Bitcoin on the daily, having these lows right here unswept, on Ethereum having these lows right here unswept. So for Ethereum, they're already swept. So where's the liquidity draw? Well, if you take a look at it purely technical, nowhere, because the highs have been swept and now the lows have been swept. Ever since we did this here and here as well, no clean draw. But what gives you the advantage and what gives it the highest probability of breaking to the upside? Well, market structure. We've seen upside, ranging, continuation, ranging, continuation, ranging. So it's better to assume that this is gonna be exactly the same than trying to time a top or trying to call a top on this. This is no different from the ranges that we've seen here so far. When would it be? Well, if we now start seeing this and we start breaking below this low, close ugly, yeah, at that point, in my opinion, a pump in here would be a short targeting all the way back down here again. But until then, I like to assume that this range right here is exactly the same as this one, and we see continuation to the upside. So that's why I longed Ethereum. After I closed my shorts at the low. So I posted these live as well. We called shorts from there to range lows. We closed them at range lows and we flipped long right there. We are in profit at the moment. Not a lot yet, but it's still developing. It's normal. We usually see some ranging at the lows and then see a strong pump to the upside. So, but to answer your question, why are you short Bitcoin and long Ethereum? Because I could see Bitcoin trade to 120k. Right? If Bitcoin does this, what will Ethereum do? Ethereum will likely do this, right? At that point, I would already be up quite a bit on my longs on Ethereum. I will scale out a bit and hold some in case we break to new all-time highs. But then I scale out a bit already. Look what Bitcoin does. Does Bitcoin want to trade higher? I'm out of Bitcoin shorts and I still have my Ethereum longs. Does Bitcoin want to reject there? If it rejects, right, breaks back down below those highs, and I see weakness on Ethereum, I'll scale more out of Ethereum shorts and hold my Ethereum longs and hold on to my Bitcoin shorts. Does that make sense? Any questions about this? Didn't you think we can flash dump on ETH to sweep 3,700? See liquidation on CoinGlass. There is some if Bitcoin goes to 104 or lower, for example. 37. Yeah, sure. Why not? I marked out this low right here. As personally, I didn't think we would see this much upside yet. Why? Because I didn't like the formation on the daily here. Why? This daily candle right here, as you can see, it's pretty damn ugly. We closed this daily candle very ugly, very in the red. That doesn't matter. As we talked about before, it's not about the closes anymore. Back in the days, it was about the closes. And a close like this would have been horrible. But nowadays, they want you to believe that it's a breakdown. But what they do then, within the next few candles, they just smash it back above. But you are right, when we closed down here, we opened the next candle. What we usually do is get a wick, at least to sweep this right here. As you see right here, this looks way healthier than this one right here. So we pumped into range lows, and I personally thought we were going to see one more sweep there and then the smash back above here. But right now we already got the reclaim. We smashed back above range lows. I'm not sure we're gonna visit that area again. So I'm just holding on to my longs. What's the first area of interest for me? Obviously range mean, lining up with supply up here. The sideways area, the sideways price section that broke us down, that's gonna be key resistance. If we smash above here, consolidate a bit, yeah, then I think there's no stopping it, and we're going for 5k plus. All right. People who always calling tops should call their mom and tell her that they love her. You're 100% right. We'll do requests at the end. All right. BNB, strong strong reclaim as well after the downside that we've seen, but I'm not convinced on the weekly actually. I really don't like the look of the weekly on this one here. Flat bottom right after an ugly, I would consider this an ugly weekly candle. Now obviously we're still in a strong uptrend, so looking for longs will always be the better idea, but rushing into longs here on the lower time frames, not the best idea in my opinion. This is the flat weekly, right? As you can see right below there, what do we have? Pivotal area. Why? This was the low that got swept, that caused a decent bounce, then broke below resistance, but then smashed back above. So if we sweep that weekly low in here, I'll be looking for longs. That would be a very clean setup. Did we front run the liquidity here as well? We slightly swept it, but feel like there's gonna be a big draw anyways. So ideal scenario for me here. Let's make it a little bit cleaner. Would be to sweep the weekly low into that key pivot, reclaim, and then see continuation into new all-time highs. First target would be the highs up here. Second one, all-time high. Third one, a lot higher. Setup would look something like, oops, something like this. And as you can see, to these highs, it's already 1R. To this high, 2R, and then, yeah, however high it wants to go. All right. Smash the likes up. Yeah, you're right. Let's get the likes to 30 at least. Same thoughts I get front run on my entry. That's why I'm angry. Happens to the best of us, man. Can you do Litecoin? Yeah, we will. Okay, so that's BNB. Overall, still looking very bullish, you know. If you look at the weekly like this, it's just trading into price discovery, so no real reason to fade this. What else I want to talk about? Bird, obviously. The meme coin that I've been in for, yeah, I've been in since all the way down here, but then never really took any profits. Traded all the way back down, then I got drained, so I lost all my tokens. Then I re-entered some down here and added more down there. Staking just went live yesterday, I think. Very bullish on this one. Even not looking at what Bird is doing, it's still a meme coin, but it actually has some utility. But just looking at the chart, I think you cannot really be bearish on anything that looks like this. Reclaim this key pivotal area, boom, retest, and now just looking like it wants to go towards the opposite side of the range, which is up here. Break above there, then we can start talking about all-time highs, but for now I'm targeting this area up here, and I think it's just a matter of time before this breaks out. Next one, Litecoin. Remember when we were trading here, right? And that I said, in my opinion, everything needs a candle lower. When Ethereum was trading there, right? Before it swept all those lows, Litecoin was trading there. I said, I feel like the market needs that sweep to the downside. Well, was the same on Litecoin. We marked out this low, this high. The high was swept, low was unswept. Well, guess now, the low is swept, right? So looking a lot better here. But Yeah, obviously the monthly and the weekly time frame, these ranges, nothing changed. Once we get a decent breakout out of this, I think it's gonna go mental, right? I think it's gonna see massive upside. But what do I want to see, and how can you time it? It is difficult to time a breakout out of a range that lasts this long, but what would give a decent hint, in my opinion, a breakout, a break at least above the supply that led to the sweep of these lows, which is up here. So if we get a break above here now, right, and ideally above this range high level, then I think it will be go time. Hopefully it lines up with Ethereum going for new highs, maybe Bitcoin for new highs, we will see. But yeah, overall still holding this in spot, and still targeting a lot higher. That's also, in my opinion, Litecoin, stuff like Litecoin, Ethereum looking a lot better than Bitcoin at the moment. And that's also the reason why I could see Bitcoin just ranging, right, in between 122, 23 and 102, let's say, range in between there, while alts pop off. I know a lot of you don't believe in it anymore, but could be the case here soon, in my opinion. That's also why I'm still fully in spot. Ethereum, Litecoin, BNB, because if that happens, I think those are gonna go pretty crazy. But we'll see. Let's see the chat. If Bitcoin pukes and sweeps the lows, will that most likely cause an ETH reaction, stopping you out? Maybe. We'll see about that, right? If Bitcoin does go for these lows, Ethereum could nuke hard. Maybe Ethereum is strong and just sweeps this and doesn't stop me out. I will have to see the reaction. All right. Let's see my stop loss right there. So as you can see, I still have some room, you know. It could easily sweep this and still reverse and then go for the highs. But what I want to see here on Ethereum, honestly, the best thing would be to run from here, in my opinion. Like on these moves right here, we also didn't get another chance to buy lower. It just ran. So ideally, just straight continuation. And where would that would that put Bitcoin? I also don't know, but I know where I'm wrong on Bitcoin, right? And that's why I have my shorts in place with a wide invalidation to allow for these moves to happen. And yeah, BNB to 1500 at the end of the year. Good chance, yeah. Like I said, if we're going to have a bullish Q4 and everything's gonna go for one more leg, I know a lot of people want it. A lot of people think it's going to happen, but, and I don't like that, right? It would be better if everyone thought it was over, although I do think a lot of people do think it's over. But at this point, I don't know either. Nobody knows, obviously. But I still like to think that we're going to get one more bullish Q4. And yeah, if that happens, I think BNB will be one of the top performance. BNB is one of the only ones that's been trading in price discovery all this time, you know. So if we have other legs in Bitcoin, Ethereum, and others, Litecoin maybe, I think BNB will do very good as well. If Bitcoin dump, with that Bitcoin dominance going stronger, all's gonna bleed for sure. Possible, yeah. Feel like you are more bullish, but a lot of indicators on the weekly show bearish on Bitcoin and ETH. I'm more bearish on ETH than on Bitcoin than on ETH. That's why I'm short Bitcoin and long Ethereum. But I don't like calling it being bullish or being bearish, you know? I'm just trading. And for Bitcoin, I want to see a sweep of this. And for Ethereum, I saw a sweep of the lows and I want to see trade higher. So yeah, whatever. Just wondering why you're leaning more to Bitcoin sweeping the lows while ETH pushing through all-time highs. I understand the dominance when it's present, especially during alt season, but won't ETH get beat up as well? Well, I just explained that, right? I could see Bitcoin trade towards these lows while Ethereum holds pretty strong. I think Ethereum is looking better than Bitcoin at the moment. So yeah, if I get stopped out, so be it. My invalidation on, but yeah, like I said, ideally we see a little bit, ideally for me, ideally for the Bitcoin chart, I want to see it get over with as soon as possible, these lows. But ideally for me, this pushes higher, Ethereum pushes into all-time highs, I take some profit there, and Bitcoin still reverses afterwards. For Bitcoin, this wouldn't be the ideal scenario, but for me it would. Just by thinking that Binance will be the first real 3.0 bank with top lending for customers. Let's see. Rather than BNB, I bet on Litecoin. Sleeping too long, nice range. I agree. That's why I'm holding both. Late, but will watch back. Frank the Tank. Welcome, man. And no worries. Yeah, and then the Esther, right? Not looking too good in my opinion. Initially I was this is not a position I'm in, by the way, I was just observing. But if you look at it on the weekly, right? Just two levels on the weekly. This weekly high got swept, we bumped into it, rejected below the weekly open, and we have this weekly low unswept. Zooming out on the lower time frames, that gives you a very clean range, and in my opinion that's gonna be the next draw. I was initially looking for longs if we would sweep some of these lows in here and then do something like this, but looking further into it, I don't really like it. What I would long probably would be a reclaim of this weekly level. That would mean, so if you do something like this, reclaim this, right? That would mean reclaiming the weekly level, but also getting back above the weekly open. So in that case, I think it's more likely that we push to new highs. But until then, right, I think it's more likely that we bleed and take out this weekly low. XPL is also looking horrible, right? Just bleeding lower. Don't know how low it's gonna go. What else do we have? Feel free to post some tickers in the chat now. One per person, please. I'll try to cover as many as possible. Hype. Yeah, remember when we set up here that we were looking for hype to sweep some lows? Well, it did sweep one, but not convincing in my opinion. This is your key pivot, right? If you get a break above there, that would mean back into supply here, but that's gonna be the real resistance we need to break in order for us to move to all-time highs. OTE lining up there beautifully as well, so yeah, I want to see lower on this, to be honest. Something like this, a real wick to the downside, taking all of this out. And then I'd look for buys down here. Pump. Ranging for now, consolidation could be great in a few days. Let's see. I don't like this. Pumped, boom, and then rejected heavily, and now any pump is just getting sold into. So in my opinion, at least back towards like here. And then we'll see. Maybe something like this. Look for buys here. Just for a bounce play in here, right? Hold some in case we do this. But I doubt it. So yeah, not really liking it. I'm targeting 0.4. 0.4. Damn. 0.004. Yeah, that's that area, right? Same. M and T. Damn. This looks clean. This looks really clean. Yeah, I like this one more than a lot of those others. But weekly got swept. That's a ugly rejection sweep there. Yeah, this is probably support until proven otherwise. But it's like one of those places where I don't like longing. Like, technically it's at support, the weekly open, right? And this range high level after sweeping the range low level into high time frame range highs. But I don't like longing into this. I rather look for longs on a sweep that looks like this. But could definitely bounce here and do this. If it doesn't, breaks back below here, right? And rejects there and then fails to hold above this, yeah, then it's done and it's likely gonna go a lot lower. Until then, probably assume that it's a breakout and it's gonna trade higher. Can you trade BNB perps? If so, why do you only hold spots? Yes, I can, of course. Why do I only hold spots? I hold spot because I think that it's gonna go higher in the next couple of weeks to months, and I thought that months ago, and so I don't have to pay funding if I want to long. And why do I not long? Because there wasn't a clean setup on the lower time frames for me. If I get this setup, I will definitely be looking for longs. ARB. Ugly. Very ugly. Nah, I'm not interested. I would like your opinion on the very rare and not popular. Is it on we'll only do like coins that are on Bybit, Binance and Blowfin. Sonic. Yeah, see, ugly. Why would you be interested in something that's bleeding lower, making lower highs, and looks like it wants to go to zero? Also not interested. Some thoughts on AVAX? Sure. But yeah, remember when I posted this on X, that I had this line here, right? I ended up closing it at break even, but it would have been a nice bottom tick, whatever you want to call it. But anyways, daily bounced at that area. I could see another sweep now, right? Something like this, and still a bounce, and then higher, at least into supply. What do I want to see for us to really move to new highs? A break above here. That's gonna be key resistance. OTE again, blah blah blah, all the usuals. So yeah, weekly is red at the moment, right? So wait for the weekly reclaim, the weekly open reclaim, and then maybe look for some longs. But for now, it's just stuck in between OTE up here and this high time frame demand down there. So could see sweeps there or rejections there. Fartcoin, USDT. Damn, I guess a lot of people bag held this all the way back down again. Crazy how it got shilled up here and failed to break above this. But anyways, I'm definitely not interested. Like, you can see the difference between a coin that looks like this, bleeding down, and a coin that looks like this, going up. Would you rather have this? Or fart coin that looks like this? Right? So not interested. Silver. Yeah, I mean, not a lot to talk about, you know. They're looking very bullish. They're rejecting a bit at the moment, but that's normal, you know. But gold trading into new highs. Silver traded so aggressively into new highs. Is very close to new all-time highs, but look at the monthly closes that we're gonna get. Monthly close up here, monthly close up there, and a monthly close here, very strong above this monthly range EQ. So I think continuation to the upside next month. Low time frames, I'm not really watching these, but very bullish, obviously. Yeah, like I said, lower time frames, I don't really... Yeah, it's just swept some lows. Who knows? It's normal, you get these, you know. As long as it holds above here, I think it pushes back up. Could see another lower sweep in there. If you're looking for longs, keep your stops like down there to be safe. And then something like this. Makes sense. Apex, what happened? Not sure. It's not looking too good, right? Spiked up and now just bleeding lower. So no real strength. Unless you get something like this, strong reclaim, then I maybe would look for longs, but for now it looks like it just wants to bleed lower. Platinum is looking gorgeous. Yes, I agree. I've held that ever since we were trading we were trading down here. Where did I first buy? I first bought it like somewhere here. Then I added big down here. And yeah, I'm just holding this. STBL. You can immediately see leg up, another leg up, right? And now consolidating below this resistance. So the main resistance you need to break above is this. If you get that, buy the retest and sell all-time highs. Now let's go to the lower time frames, right? That confirms what we just said. Key resistance is here. Wait for a reclaim, buy the retest, sell new highs. Until then, we have clean lows here and the opposite of this, which is down here. So likely trades lower. If it sweeps that and reclaims, you could look for a range play back towards the highs. Until then, in the middle of nowhere. I take a position in silver in the 15-minute time frame from range low, long. Yeah, you could. It's looking decent. Makes sense. All right, that's gonna be it for today. It's been an hour. Very nice stream. We covered Bitcoin, Ethereum in depth. I hope it made sense. Take it easy, everyone. Leave a like if you haven't already. Subscribe. Check out Breakout if you want to get a funded account. If you don't have a lot of funds, you can get funded there up to $100,000. If you do have the funds, feel free to use Blowfin. I have my own Discord group where I post more analysis and all of my trades live. If you want to join that, simply use one of the links in the description. Send me a DM or join the Discord. Send me a DM and we'll sort things out. All right, take it easy and see you in the next one. Bye.